So I didn't know what to do, but I've been reading the Silmarillion for a couple of months, and so I'm already on chapter 10, I think. And so for this meeting, I reread the first four, Ainulindalë, however it is pronounced, Valaquenta, and the first two chapters. And so I normally I just read because I need to get like the general picture, and I don't understand it. It doesn't matter. I just continue reading. But now because I'm rereading, so it's a different experience. So rereading, I made my lists of new words, of old words, of Tolkien words, Tolkien words. It was fun. Have you read in English, or you're just coming with your information in Spanish? Yes, Gerald. Yeah. I also reread. No, I only read in Spanish, so I'm trying to.
Yes, we are.
I'm just checking for a PDF.
So I was thinking that what we can do for the quotes, I think the best thing of making it legal would be not to show any PDFs, but to share our quotes in the chat, so we can type them or copy them if you want. So we have them in the chat, and we don't show anything on screen. However, I have prepared a Kahoot, but I've never really hosted a Kahoot, so I don't know if I can do it well. I just made the questions, but I don't know if it's easy to do on the way.
Well, there is always a first time, so that's fine.
Okay.
You will do great. It's gonna be great.
Okay. It was fun. It was fun to do it. Okay. So far, the people who are here, I don't think we're gonna have trolls today. But
Hope so.
most of us, except for Gereny, we have pictures, so that's a good thing. Gereny, why don't you have a picture? He's not here. Also, tell me if you are not here, so I don't talk to you if you're not here. Hi, Santiago, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Have you been reading the Silmarillion in English? Okay, we're gonna start. There it is. Okay. Santiago says that he's busy. Okay, fine. About the foreword, I don't know what editions you have. This is the edition that I have. And in this edition, this is the edition from 1999. So there's a foreword and a letter by J.R.R. Tolkien to Milton Woolman. But I didn't finish reading it because it basically spoils everything, and I don't like spoilers. So I didn't finish reading that part, only the first parts until what we know so far. Have you read the first part, the foreword? This is the second edition? Is that what you're saying? Also, Yes, the names of the chapters are spoilers. Also, I've been making lists of new words and old words and all that. And there was a word that I didn't understand. I mean, it's a scare, but I know it's scare, but in the context, it didn't make sense. So I thought maybe there is another meaning to scare, right? So it turns out that there isn't. So I checked another copy, and in another copy, it says scars. So I think it's scars or scares and not scare. So I found a mistake. It makes sense. So excited to find mistakes. But I don't know about you. It's in Ainulindalë. I don't know what editions you have. What do you have, Erix? I bet you have like the last edition with the new pictures and everything, don't you?
I don't think so.
No?
This is let me see. Well, this is the edition illustrated by Ted Nasmith.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 2004 edition by Houghton Mifflin Company. Yeah, that's the edition I have.
And are you planning on buying the latest one?
I don't know. I really like this edition. But I'm not sure. I mean, I have a Spanish edition, but it's also illustrated, so that's fine.
This one is not. It's it's the smallest. It's definitely not illustrated and very uncomfortable. Welcome, Ernesto. Thank you for joining us. Okay. Okay. Thanks for being here. You can participate in the chat or opening your microphone. It's no problem. Thanks for being here anyway. Okay. I think we're gonna start. So the idea is to share comments and also your favorite quotes. It wasn't easy for me to choose a quote, but I do, when I read something that I like, I usually post it on Twitter where nobody follows me, but I have my quotes from there too, but I also picked some others. And so I don't know, maybe I will start and then you can follow. So the Silmarillion is the Quenta Silmarillion, right? And before it, there are two little books. It's a quote from each chapter. Yeah, the idea is a quote from each chapter, because I mean, if you find, if you want, for example, in one chapter, I chose two because one was not enough, and in others I wasn't sure. So, for example, in Ainulindalë, let me see if I find it. From Ainulindalë, do you know where your quote is from? I love Ainulindalë. Okay, I'm doing the comment and not the quote. Okay, I'm going to start with the comment. Tengo entiende. Oh, thank you. I'll fix it. Tengo entiende. Thanks. Okay, before the quote, I'm going to start with the comment. I love Ainulindalë. I love it. It's interesting personally for me because I read it I think 18 years ago in Spanish, of course. And back then there was something that I don't have today. That is I could read in Spanish and not feel that I wanted to read in English. I was normal and I read in Spanish, and I remember vividly loving the story in Spanish, like how it was the creation of everything, and it really captured me. It was a friend's book, and now that I'm reading it again, I feel the same, right? It is like it's really, really, really beautiful. Well, I don't know what other adjective to put. I love the harmony it has. It's like the best start to anything. I don't understand why it's not part of the Quenta Silmarillion. It's just a little book, like a booklet. I don't get that idea, but it's amazing. I enjoy it extremely. I love the how they combine this music and how it's so I don't know, capturing, I'm guessing. So my quote is in this one. I didn't know what to choose really, but I chose this. I'm going to put it in the chat. I'm gonna read it. And it is said by the elder that in water there lives yet the echo of the music of the Ainur, more than in any substance else that is in this earth. And many of the children of Ilúvatar hearken still unsated to the voices of the sea, and yet know not for what they listen. I chose this one because it connects this remote world to us, and because I love the sea, and I love the idea of that connection that you can actually feel and you can actually see, because I do love the sea, not only the sound but the smell. By the way, there's nothing about the smell here. It's all about the sound. So that's me and the first book, Ainulindalë. Who would like to continue?
I bet your quote in Valaquenta has something to do with women.
That's why I chose two in Valaquenta. Yes.
I want to share my quote from Ainulindalë. I'm copying.
Okay. I don't know if I have another. I'm going to check if it's from Ainulindalë or not.
I can't copy. No. I don't know why, but I have a PDF here. I'm doing Control C.
Try right click and copy.
Okay. Yes. It's not. It's too long. That's why. Okay. I copy the rest.
It's a quote, not a chapter, not a page.
No, it's a paragraph. It's one paragraph.
Okay. Can you read it?
Many other things Ilúvatar spoke to the Ainur at the time. And because of their memory of his words and the knowledge that each has of the music that he himself made, the Ainur know much of what was and is to come, and few things are unseen by them. Yet some things there are that they cannot see, neither alone nor taken counsel together. For to none but himself has Ilúvatar revealed all that he has in store. And in every age there come forth things that are new and have no foretelling, for they do not proceed from the past. And so it was that as this vision of the world was played before them, the Ainur saw that it contained things which they had not thought, and they saw with amazement the coming of the children of Ilúvatar, and the habitation that was prepared for them. And they perceived that they themselves, in the labor of their music, had been busy with the preparation of this dwelling, and yet knew not that it had any purpose beyond its own beauty. but the children of Ilúvatar were conceived by him alone. They came with a third theme, and were not in the theme which Ilúvatar propounded at the beginning, and none of the Ainur had part in their making. Therefore, when they beheld them, the more did they love them, being things other than themselves, strange and free, wherein they saw the mind of Ilúvatar reflected anew, and learned yet a little more of his wisdom, which otherwise had been hidden even from the Ainur.
Love it. Why did you choose it?
Why? Because of this part that I think it's the core of the paragraph. For to none but himself has Ilúvatar revealed all that he has in store. That none but himself has Ilúvatar revealed. It's kind of Ilúvatar and himself, you know, as if Ilúvatar wasn't just one, absolutely one. I think it's the only quote in all the works of Tolkien where we can take a glance at the possible mystery of the one God that it's not really one. You know, because Tolkien was Catholic, and in Catholic theology, there's the Trinity. There's one God, but three people, or three persons. I don't know how to say the theological term in English. But in the Silmarillion, Ilúvatar is just one God, one and one, as Allah in the Islam, for example, or in the Jewish tradition, not in the Christian tradition. But then there he says, none but himself has Ilúvatar revealed. That Ilúvatar reveals something to himself. You know, it's like Ilúvatar face to Ilúvatar. So it's a, how do we say, a glimpse? And I like this shadow of Christian theology in the Silmarillion. I think it's the only quote where we can find this.
Interesting. Yeah, I like that idea.
And it's in relation with the creation of the children of Ilúvatar.
I like in this paragraph the idea of how the Ainur love to see something they had no idea about. That it's so that they are like, it's not like they are the gods and their powers and they subdue.
They are limited,
but they admire them. They are curious about them. They love them. I like that thing. That wow, these creatures, where are they? We want to see them already.
It's us.
I like that. I do have another quote that is from that.
Now you're twitching.
Yeah, but it adds up and makes less than your paragraph. Is this one? I like the idea of the void. Ilúvatar took no thought for the void, and he was impatient of its emptiness. Yet he found not the fire. This is Melkor trying to find the fire. No, yet he found not the fire, for it is with Ilúvatar. And I like this idea that says, but being alone, he had begun to conceive thought of his own, unlike those of his brethren. And I see it like the Christian idea and version of hell, that is where evil comes when you are alone. Hell is being alone, right? And I like this idea here. Being alone was when he started conceiving these thoughts. this thing that sent him to the hate. Why does he hate everybody? No, but hell is being away from God. Being isolation is hell. Being alone, being with others is what makes you be. Being with others makes you be. You are when you are for the other person. And when you are alone, you are not for anybody. Kinda, yes, being alone. Because he was alone, he began to conceive the thoughts. Yeah, yeah, that's what it says here. Yeah. Okay. Willie, are you here?
Yes, I am. But my neighbor is having a party, so.
But I don't hear anything. I mean, only you. There's no noise.
Oh, okay. Wait, I have a cold. Just. Yeah. That one.
Could you read it?
Yes. Mighty are the Ainur, and mightiest among them is Melkor. But that he may know, and all the Ainur, that I am Ilúvatar. Those things that ye have sung, I will show them forth, that ye may see that ye have done. And though Melkor shall see that not theme may be played that hath not its uttermost source in me. Nor can any alter the music in my despite. For he that attended, this shall prove that, this shall prove but my instrument in devising things more wonderful, which he himself hath not imagined.
Yeah. Why did you choose it?
Because I like the idea that nothing escapes from the music of Ilúvatar. Nothing escapes from the design of the universe.
Yes, even
I
evil.
just like it. What?
Even evil. Well, or what looks like something bad but turns into something good, like the catastrophe, right? No.
I don't know if it becomes something good, just something that Ilúvatar wants.
Okay. Erix, I thought you had abandoned us, deceived by the powers of darkness.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not today. No, that's another book, sorry.
I think that the design of Ilúvatar escapes from our concept of good and evil.
I love that. I love that because I would hate to see Mirimbo, Quilly, and Erix discussing that today.
But since Tolkien is the author, I doubt that Ilúvatar is beyond good or evil.
Yeah, let's not go there, please. please.
Okay, I'd like to share a brief paragraph that shows how the powers, even they are kind of amazed by how the thought of Ilúvatar is far beyond what they could imagine, right? So there is this part when Ilúvatar talks to Ulmo, telling him about how important is the work that they are doing, and how is beyond what they have conceived. So
You have it to put it in the chat?
nope, I'm reading the book right now. So
Fine.
I'm on my phone right now, so I'm gonna.
Okay, I'm gonna try to find it and copy it, but you go.
Okay, so then Ulmo answered, "Truly, water is become now fairer than my heart imagined. Neither had my secret thought conceived the snowflake, nor in all my music was contained the falling of the rain. I will seek Manwe, that he and I may make melodies forever to thy delight." And Manuel Ulmo have from the beginning been alive, and in all things have served most faithfully the purpose of Ilúvatar. So it's this kind of complementarity between wind and water, right? So
Yes. But is that from Ainulindalë?
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I love it. As usual, my PDF failed me when I asked him to help me, but I do have it. Here it is. I thought you were going to put the exact same that Francisco put because it was the same idea at first. But this is it. Yes, I love everything. Yes, that part is also wonderful. Okay, great. Any comments on let me read it. Ainulindalë. Am I saying it right? So we can go on to Valaquenta. Ainulindalë, yes.
Yep, I think so.
Could you tell us some words some strange words?
It would be my pleasure.
Because from the quote I read. Wait.
I will share my screen.
The quote I read. In the quote I read, there is a word attempted with th at the end.
Those are old. Oh, it's all English. The has, because what you read is Ilúvatar speaking, right?
Yes.
Particularly when Ilúvatar is speaking, there is the old English appearing.
And G may see, ye have done.
Ye, thou, thy. I learned that because I learned the Our Father in English because I was teaching to some seminarians. So it's Our Father who art in heaven, blessed art thou. No, thou is you. Ye, I didn't know. Ye is the plural. You plural is ye. But I have here I have a list here. I started with the list from.
That's a very long password.
Yeah, because it's one of those that wanted capital and then numbers and whatever. So I have my list. Tolkien old and words from Ainulindalë. For example, all words from Tolkien. To abide, the past abode. Arrive correctly. Ought, anything. It's like really. The brethren, right? He says the Ainur and the brethren. And there's a lot of ear. I had to look it up before. It means before. And these are the words with th at the end. These are the Old English. Hath, has. Hearken. Also, he says also hearken all the time, that the music, and he hearken. to listen. Nigh, near, the raiments, the clothing. Shalt, you shall, or thou shalt, you shall. Wherefore, there was a word. I didn't find wherefore in the dictionary, but the whys and wherefores, meaning the reasons. Thenceforth, starting there. Thine, meaning yours. Thither, to. Thou wilt, you will. Unto, to. Ye, meaning you use when talking to more than one person. This is your word, ye. This is talking out from Ainulindalë.
Those words are rare even for native people or only for us?
Yes, they are all English. And these and all the others, for example, that I didn't know, but they are not old. The dictionary says formal or literary. So it's not an everyday word either. These are not everyday words either. For example, there is one word that one of you read, like propounded. Ilúvatar propounded. I suppose propose. It is, no. Propounded the music or whatever. So yeah, no, they are hardcore words. They are difficult words. For example, also he's in the one I read, it said unsated. Unsated is not in the dictionary or another dictionary I checked, but I'm just guessing it's just the opposite of sated, meaning satisfied. Unsated, unsatisfied, and things like that. So I can send you this list later if you want. Okay, let's move on. Valaquenta. I was reading, I don't know, in the chat of Asamblea or in the chat of some chat, that somebody said that Valaquenta was boring. I don't think so at all. I love Valaquenta. Or I like it when they explain again and again. They're basically repeating everything, and I need repetition because they are all new people or new powers or new gods. So I like it. I like that they tell me this is with this and this is what he does and this is the name and this is the other. I really enjoy it. I mean, it's definitely not Ainulindalë, but I don't like it less. So you think it's boring?
In comparison with the rest of the book, yes.
Really?
I don't think so. I think The Hobbit is boring.
Oh!
Ouch!
Nothing is boring. Where there's vocabulary, everything is interesting. Okay, so I liked Valaquenta. I find it extremely interesting. Obviously, first time I'm like, oh wow, how interesting, but I don't remember any of the names. That is the reason I have to tell you why I never participate when people talk about who is your favorite Ainur. I have no idea. I don't know any of them. Yavanna rings a bell, but no idea then. But okay, now rereading and making my lists, I think I got the hang of it, kind of. So at least I can differentiate now, a Vala from a Maya. I must also say that I didn't go to the Tolkien for beginners in Spanish because I wanted to get to understand it in English, not in Spanish. Although I've heard it a couple of times, but I never get it because, you have to do it for yourself or by yourself to get it. So I got it in the end. So I chose also 2 quotes because why not? It was more difficult here. Obviously, I chose the Uinen one, but before that, I'm going to read this one. It's about Nienna. Mightier than Este is Nienna, sister of the Feanturi. She dwells alone. she's acquainted with grief, type, and mourns for every wound that Arda has suffered in the marrying of Melkor. Some words later, and then they say, but she does not weep for herself, and those who hearken to her learn pity and endurance in hope. I have found, I've gotten an amazing insight from the people from Iowa that I go once a month to talk about the Lord of the Rings. And in the last meeting, they were discussing, you know, these people are lecturers, really, they know everything. I learned a lot from them. And they were talking about this pity and how every time they mention pity, it's a good thing. It has to do with some good deed, with Ilúvatar, with something good. I don't know the thing, but everything that, and going back to Gandalf talking to Frodo, and pity is what saved him, and pity is like a powerful thing in Tolkien's world. And when we were doing the chapter on Faramir and how he has this vision of Boromir, and somebody asks him if, don't you think it was a vision from the enemy? And he says, no, I'm sure that it wasn't a vision of the enemy, because I didn't feel fear or hatred. I felt pity. So this feeling made him know for certain that it was real, that it didn't come from the enemy. So I love this, finding pity here, that people who hear from Niena learn pity and endurance in hope, that are very important themes for Tolkien. I really like that. And then my other quote is where my name comes from, that when we were reading the Silmarillion with the Ents, I think last year, I was there just listening, and when I heard this part of Uinen, I really liked it, because I love the water again, I love the sea, and I like that the letters go with my name, and I renamed myself Geraldine, Geraldine, and so I like that, so I put that part here. It starts talking about Ose. He's a vassal of Ulmo, and he is a master of the seas that wash the shores of Middle-earth, etc. And then his spouse is Uinen, the lady of the seas, whose hair lies spread through the water under sky. And all creatures she loves that live in salt streams, and all weeds that grow there. To her, mariners cry, for she can lay calm upon the waves, restraining the wildness of Ose. And that's me, Uinen, the lady of the seas. That's it. Thank you. Who's next? Guys, are you here?
Yeah.
Thanks.
May I?
Clara, Clarita pure, Clarita, échate, Clarita.
May I?
Please.
Okay. Chan the chat. Wisest of the Maiar was Olorin. He too dwelt in Lorien, but his ways took him often to the house of Nienna, and of her he learned pity and patience. Of Melian much is told in the Quenta Silmarillion, but of Olorin that tale does not speak. Although he loved the elves, he walked among them unseen or in form as one of them, and they did not know whence came the fair visions or the promptings of wisdom that he put into their hearts. In later days, he was the friend of all the children of Ilúvatar and took pity on their sorrows. Those who listened to him awoke from despair and put away the imaginations of darkness.
That was my other quote too.
Interesting.
Your neck?
Why did you choose it?
That was your what?
Why did you choose it?
Because there's Gandalf, and it's interesting to see the origin of that character that is so important in the trilogy and the Hobbit and everywhere. And
really, I didn't know that.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're a spoiler alert. Okay.
But Gandalf says in Lord of the Rings, I was called Olorin in the West.
Oh, yeah, of course, I would never remember that.
So it's Gandalf. And when we talk about Gandalf here, it's the only quotes, the only two paragraphs where we can find Olorin. We talk about pity. That is a value so important to Gandalf, and the dialogues, when he speaks with Frodo, and Frodo says, "What a pity that Bilbo didn't kill Gollum," and so, well, yes, it's Bilbo's pity, and it's so all this dialogue about pity between Gandalf and Frodo that is so important in the plot, in Lord of the Rings plot, because it's because of the pity that Bilbo shows towards Gollum, that Gollum finally can arrive to the end and be the how do you say, the instrument, the tool for everything go to a good end, the eucatastrophe.
You left, right? Because I was talking about that a few minutes ago.
Oh, sorry. I was away and I came back.
I was telling you that in Iowa, that Joshua is here. Welcome, and he is from there. And we were talking about PT and PT in the Lord of the Rings and PT that comes as this value we are talking about. Yeah. Welcome, Joshua. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for hosting this. This looks really fun.
I am having a lot of fun. Okay. Thanks, Francisco. Anything else about Valaquenta? We are in Valaquenta.
Yep.
Erix?
Well, they say that the heroes are just as good as their enemies, right? The villains. So there is a quote about Sauron in the Valaquenta, at the end of the Valaquenta, I would like to read. So it says, among those of his servants that have names, the greatest was the spirit whom the elder called Sauron, or Gortaur the Cruel. In his beginning, he was of the mire of Aulë, and he remained mighty in the lore of that people. In all the deeds of Melkor the Morgoth upon Arda, in his vast works, and in the deceit of his cunning, Sauron had a part, and was only less evil than his master, in that for long he served another and not himself. But in after years, he rose like a shadow of Morgoth and a ghost of his malice, and walked behind him on the same ruinous path down into the void.
Yes. Why did you choose it? Sorry, I missed it.
Oh well, because I think the history makes sense because we have pretty good villains in the right. So we have Morgoth as a power, and we have Sauron, who in his beginning was a mayor of Aulë, and then that makes totally sense regarding his abilities, right, in craft, in order, in making the rings and all the stuff. So that's something I really like.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And also this idea that Aulë, was it Aulë or am I mistaken, that was also called to be, or Ose, I think also was called to be, but Aulë had something similar. It was similar to Melkor, right? Because he liked doing things. Yeah, and actually he made the doors, right? I think.
Yeah,
I think spoiler is the next chapter.
I mean, who was closest to Melkor, as far as I know, was Manwë, right? They were like kind of
in power,
but
but in abilities, yeah, right. Aulë, yeah.
The interests.
In interests, yes, in interests. So that interest could lead him to evil, but it didn't. Or I like he wanted, but then he repented or something like that. Or I don't know.
It was too haste.
Okay.
Well, but there's a spoiler because that's the chapter of Aulë and Yavanna.
Okay, not yet, not just yet. Willie. If you are talking, we cannot hear you, but your microphone is open. Willie.
Can't hear you, Willie.
Are you there?
Right on the chat, maybe. We can't hear you.
No. I think he just left it. I'm gonna mute him just in case. Okay. Oh well, Joshua, we were sharing the quotes, our favorite quotes from Valaquenta. I don't know, maybe you have one?
You were when I logged on, you were talking about pity. Did you already talk about Nienna?
Yeah, that's what I read actually.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites, and also the I have a baby. The introduction of Olorin, wisest of the Maiar was Olorin, and so we get an introduction to this counselor figure that is spoiler alert, ends up being Gandalf.
That is actually what Francisco Mirimboquili read. So we are in tune.
So I guess I have one thing to say before I go to the baby, because the baby has that really powerful ending to the Valaquenta, where you end with the word "the void" in the description of Sauron. It's striking to me because it's the only time that I know of where Tolkien actually gives an indication of what happened to Sauron.
Yeah. The same ruinous path down into the void.
Yeah.
So the void, I was in between because at first it was like there was the void and then there was the creation, but then the void still existed. So that's kind of weird.
Yeah, and what is it?
It's another
Yeah, he's totally right. But I mean, according to the in one of the books of the history of Middle Earth, there is this, this theory of the Dagorat, right? So when Melkor is gonna escape from the void and it's gonna return. So is Sauron going to return? What do you think?
I think so. I do. I don't know if Sauron.
Melkor, who will
Melkor.
return? Or both of them?
Always, I think. He returns. Sadly.
So I agree when he said that Sauron is gonna follow the end of Melkor, right? So it's gonna have the same ending, kind of. But
both of them. Melkor, the orcs' armies, and Sauron, the Maya.
everybody.
I'm finding my next quote. I don't know if it's still in Valaquenta or it's in the beginning of days. So let me check. No, it's in the next chapter. Willie, are you here now with us?
Yes.
Great. Okay.
I had a call.
Oh, but are you gonna read?
No, I don't know where are you?
We're in Valaquenta. Do you have a quote from Valaquenta?
Or no, I close the app.
What part did you like of the Valaquenta?
Let's continue. Let's continue.
Let's continue. Okay, sir. Okay, so we start with the Quenta Silmarillion. The Quenta Silmarillion doesn't start like Ainulindalë and Valaquenta start very similarly, like in the beginning, and Eru and Quenta Silmarillion is completely different at the beginning, right? The beginning of it. Right now, I don't. It's when Tulkas appears, right? I really like Tulkas. I don't get the laughter and the power. It's kind of strange, but what I chose is actually at the end when this chapter describes men, right? The firstborn and then men, and I love this part. Oh, the different gifts, right? That Ilúvatar gives to everybody. So it's this part that I really, really like. But the sons of men die indeed and leave the world, wherefore they are called the guests or the strangers. Death is their fate, the gift of Ilúvatar, which as time wears, even the powers shall envy. But Melkor has cast his shadow upon it, and confounded it with darkness, and brought forth evil out of good, and fear out of hope. I love this. From the when I read the Silmarillion without analyzing anything, this was the first words that taught me how this is death, and how in I must say the Christian vision, well, the Christian is not afraid of death because that is just another path. However, everybody is afraid of death, and which is what happens here because it's a gift, right? But Melkor has this power to make us confounded with darkness. So we are afraid of it. We don't know it. We understand it. However, it is a gift, no, a good thing, but we fear it, and it's actually a gift. And I also love the idea of how elves will envy men dying, and is what I think men hate the most. So that's my quote. Welcome, Sumac. I think Blanca was here. I think she tried to connect and she disconnected. But welcome, Sumac. We are sharing our favorite quotes right now from the Quenta Silmarillion, the first chapter of the beginning of days. Maybe to follow the same order, Mirin Bokwile, you can share yours.
I don't have one for that chapter.
You didn't like that chapter either?
No, just I didn't search for this chapter.
I guess I can second, or I can agree with Geraldine's sort of love of Tolkos. This there's this great war, and it looks like Melkor is winning, and then Tolkos sort of roars into the world, and his roar is his laughter, right? And then you get, I think it's Melkor runs away, right? He just cannot stand the sound of Tolkos's laughter. And I don't know exactly what to do with that either, but you see this pop up in other parts, like in other passages in Tolkien. The one that comes immediately to mind is the Mirror of Galadriel, right? Where Frodo offers her the ring, and she gets big and scary, but then she laughs, and that sort of breaks the spell, right? There's something just intolerable that Melkor and his people find about laughter. They're just so joyless that other people's joy is something that they just can't stand. They have to extinguish it, or they have to run away from it.
Yeah, I think you're right. Melkor hates like everything, and I would like to do the exercise of the rate of who and what Melkor hates, but he's like, and the sea, and Melkor hates it, and men, and Melkor hates them, and the elves,
Yes.
and Melkor hates them.
Yes. He just hates he hates everything.
And the laughter, probably he can't stand it, and he hates Tulkas the most, probably. I don't know if the most, but there are some people he hates the most. I'm not sure which ones. I'll try to find it here, but I'm not sure if I will. But yes, it's this joy. And well, no, I think it's my quote for the next part. Let me see if I find it that it has to do with Melkor hating something. I will see if it's this chapter or the next. Welcome, Miriam. We are sharing right now our favorite quotes or comments on the first chapter of the Silmarillion of the beginning of days. Francisco didn't have any. Erix, do you have one?
I have one.
Yeah, but let's gonna listen, William.
Okay, Willie, you go.
Okay. The sons of men die indeed and leave the world. Death is their fate, the gift of Ilúvatar, which as time wears even the powers shall imbibe. It's a short quote.
It's part of my quote.
Yes,
Okay.
I didn't hear you.
You didn't hear mine.
Okay.
It was part of mine. Yeah. Okay. Tell us why you chose it.
Because it's something, well, the gods advise us, as powerful as they are, advise us. Because we can die.
Yeah, I was talking about that. The powers envy when they say the powers, they mean the Ainur, right? Or the Valar,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But also the elves and everybody envies us. Yeah,
I think only the Valar and the Ainur. In the letters of Tolkien, there is some quote that he talk about the powers and he specifies that they are the Valars. But everybody invites us.
However, and I added to that quote, Melkor has confounded that gift and so into darkness, and men are afraid of it, as we are. That is, no, death, but it's not a bad thing necessarily. Joshua left.
What do you think about that gift? Is that a gift?
Yeah, definitely. Only that we don't know how to use it.
I don't know.
It's not a gift for you?
I don't know.
It's two gifts, right? It's this death, and also that they do as they please, like they are freer if you want.
We are out the music. The music doesn't lead us.
Yeah, we can stray, right? We can stray, and that is also a gift, but that makes us, go into the bad way. Robert's here. Thank you, Robert. Joshua was here and he just left like a minute ago because of his baby. Robert's also from Iowa, and we are right now commenting on the beginning of days, the first chapter of the Silmarillion. Willie had just shared his quote about how the powers envy our gift. Yes. Okay. Erix?
Yeah, this is a quote related to the Willie's quote regarding what we understand for the gift of Ilúvatar to men. So let's see. So, for it is said that after the departure of the Valar, there was silence, and for an age Ilúvatar sat alone in thought. Then he spoke and said, "Behold, I love the earth, which shall be the mansion of the Quendi and the Atani. But the Quendi shall be the fairest of all earthly creatures, and they shall have and shall conceive and bring forth more beauty than all my children, and they shall have the greater bliss in this world. But to the Atani I will give a new gift. Therefore he will that the hearts of the men should seek beyond the world, and should find no rest therein, but they should have a virtue to shape their life amid the powers and the chances of the world, beyond the music of the Ainur, which is as fair, which is as fate to all things else. And of their operation, everything should be informed and deed, completed, and the word fulfilled unto the last and smallest.
Yes, this is what Willie was saying.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's kind of freedom, right?
Yeah, it is freedom.
It is. It's freedom.
Absolutely. And so, does that mean that the Quendi don't have freedom?
Yep, they don't. They don't. I mean, they are kind of. Let me see. They are kind of bound to the world, right? But he says explicitly that men should go beyond even the music of the Ainur. Right, so that's
Yes.
so. What does it mean to go beyond the music of the Ainur? To go beyond everything that is created.
So it's not that you die and you go to to the houses of Mandos or whatever. No, whatever. Beyond.
Yeah. That's crazy thing.
Well,
What do the letters
I
say?
I don't think we have free will. We are not free on free will or whatever. We are beyond the music, but the music is only what the powers know. Ilúvatar knows everything else.
Yeah, I mean that free will is kind of temporary, right? Because after that paragraph, it says, but Ilúvatar knew that men, being set amid the tombs oils of the powers of the world, would stray often and would not use their gift in harmony. And he said, these two in their time shall find that all that they do redounds at the end only to the glory of my work. So that's when free will ends.
Okay. We have free will in the context of the music, but not in the context of what Ilúvatar knows.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's totally true.
So yes, but no.
Yes, but no.
I like also the idea that I don't know if you read up to there men resemble Melkor most of all the Ainur, even though he has ever feared and hated them.
I don't know. Oh, maybe you passed that part of the book. I had a quote, but I don't find it.
What is it about?
It's about that man will create the heat and Melkor create the frío, the cold.
Yeah, the snowflake.
The snowflake.
Didn't you read
rain.
that? Erix did. No, somebody talked about that.
Yes, I did.
I
did.
Okay.
Yeah, but you can read it again. I mean, it's a great quote.
Well, I like that. I like that quote because a lot of beautiful things wouldn't exist without Melkor.
Yeah. It's this.
The snow, the rain,
We read this part Ilúvatar shows that he will work through the means of your catastrophe. Yeah.
Someone see the snowflake, not all my music was contained in the... Yes, that part. I like that part.
Yes, and all this idea that even though the powers are so powerful and they have a vision that they see and it becomes something else that is good. Yeah, that's all. That's awesome. I don't know if Sumac left. Perla, welcome. Or Robert, you have a quote from these parts?
I came a little bit late, so do you mean any of the first 4 sections or just Ainulindalë or
what?
Or,
because I like you, it can be from any of the first 3 because we haven't entered into Aulë and Yavanna just yet.
Okay, well, Aulë and Yavanna was the one that I had. So let me look for the first 3.
Okay.
I'll be back in a little bit.
Okay. I don't know if Perla, you have something?
Oh, I'm sorry. No. Good morning, though. No, in this moment, I don't have a question about. I'm sorry, I joined the reunion late, and not. I don't have a question in this moment.
Don't worry. Thank you for coming. Where are you joining us from?
From Mexico.
Oh, welcome.
Thanks.
Okay. I have another. I'm coming from. I'm going directly to my Twitter, only for you to follow me. Nobody pays attention to my Twitter. But I don't know where this part is. Let me see if I find it. Oh. Nadia is here with us also. Welcome, Nadia. Thank you for coming.
Hi. Hello. Sorry, I'm too late.
Don't worry. Be happy.
Oh, yes.
We are catching up with the first. Do you have any quotes of the first 3 chapters? Ainulindalë, Valaquenta, or the beginning of days?
No, actually, I couldn't. I read a bit, but I've been really busy. I couldn't read all the chapters.
Oh, sad face. I didn't find it. Okay, don't worry. Great. Robert, you have a short passage from the Valaquenta. Do you have it now? You can share it now if you want. As you say it, I find it and I can.
Sure. So it's just a section on Niena. So is there describing all the various Valar and Valier. In my edition, it's on page 28. Anyway, it simply says, mightier than Este is Niena, sister of the Feantori. She dwells alone. She is acquainted with grief and mourns for every wound that Arda has suffered in the marring of Melkor. So great was her sorrow as the music unfolded that her song turned to lamentation long before its end, and the sound of mourning was woven into the themes of the world before it began. But she does not weep for herself, and those who hearken to her learn pity and endurance and hope. Her halls are west of west, upon the borders of the world, and she comes seldom to the city of Valimar where all is glad. She goes rather to the halls of Mandos, which are near to her own, and all those who wait in Mandos cry to her, for she brings strength to the spirit and turns sorrow to wisdom. The windows of her house look outward from the walls of the world. And am I supposed to provide commentary or just let it go at that?
Yeah, tell us why you chose it, but I'm going to say that it's the one I read too.
Okay, sorry.
No,
Repeat that.
That makes me happy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it's a mark of how good this passage is, right? But anyway, yeah, I think I've been making an argument in other contexts for a while that I think Nienna is really the central figure of the whole legendarium. You know, we see her proxy in Gandalf and Lord of the Rings, and she, in a sense, is the Valier of eucatastrophe. And as we talked about just a few minutes ago, Iluvatar works primarily through eucatastrophe. And so in a certain way, I think she is, you know, the text says that Mandos in his, Manwe in his mind is closest to Iluvatar, but Manwe is frequently ignorant of how evil works and of problems in the world. He's quite, you know, the text also says that he doesn't really understand what Melkor's evil means. And I think Nienna does understand it. And in that sense, she is actually more effective than Manwe is in dealing with Melkor's harms. And she does it not by opposing them or crushing them or opposing them directly, but by taking the harm that Melkor has done and reworking it into the fabric of creation through her mourning and lamentation. And, you know, that is specifically what eucatastrophe is. So I just, the more that I think about Nienna, the more, kind of the greater she becomes, the more important she becomes in how almost all of Tolkien's other stories play out. So anyway, thank you.
That's great. I don't know where, but I mean, in what chapter, but it is in this sorrow from her that the trees come to be, right?
Right, she participates in that, and then when they're killed, right, when Ungoliant sucks the light out of them.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, right. But she weeps over the mound where the dead trees are and is able to, along with Varda, partially save their essence. So yeah, her tears. I think whenever we see Nienna appear, I think she only is mentioned 8 times in the Silmarillion, but whenever we see her appear, something really significant happens in the Legendarium.
Yes, yeah. I also personally like her because I am a crier. So I feel there. Okay. If we're done with these chapters, I think we can go to Aulë and Yavanna. I don't know if I'm done with this because my quotes, I don't have my quotes of the last part. I thought I had taken a picture of them, but I lost them, so I am lost. I'm lost in translation. Now I don't remember what the beginning of days is about. Yes, it's the lamps and the trees, right? It's in this chapter, right? Am I right? Or not? Or not yet? No, not yet, right? Yeah, I think not yet. Yes, Telperion and Laurelin. Yes, it is this part. So I think here is also one more quote that I can find now, but it was about how it was the spring of Arda, if I'm not mistaken, and it was like the most beautiful thing, and Melkor saw it and hated it. It's such a contrast that when you're reading it, you're thinking of something beautiful, and beauty doesn't mean joy to him. It's the opposite. He has to hate it. I can't find it anymore, but Melkor is like that. Why is he like that? I can find it. Okay, so let's go to Aulë and Yavanna. From Aulë and Yavanna, which is the last chapter we're seeing today, we have all the story of the dwarves. As a comment, Robert, the other day you made a post about how I think the dwarves were preparing for the future because they were dwelling in somewhere else. I don't know exactly what you were saying there, but in another group, I saw a comment about someone else talking about how this person was also reading this chapter of the making of the dwarves and how much it resembled the story of Ishmael and these children that Abraham had, and he wanted him to be the one because he was impatient, but God tells him, no, he's not the one. No, he's not. He will be my son, but he's not the one that I have chosen. And that's what Ilúvatar also tells Aulë. They will be my children of adoption, but not the children of my love, or I don't know exactly what he calls. That was just as a comment, but if I find anything else, I'll say it in a while. Meeting book, Quile, do you have a quote? This chapter is very short.
Not for this chapter, sorry.
No, a comment from this chapter?
Nope. I chose the quotes that I've read for Ainulindalë and Valaquenta.
I can hear you well. There's a problem with the microphone.
I just chose the quotes that I've read and that I read for Ainulindalë and Valaquenta, not for the other two chapters.
Okay, you don't have any then?
No.
But a comment.
A comment.
Yeah, do you like it or not?
I prefer Ainulindalë. But I don't know, for the Silmarillion, I prefer other chapters, but I always found all this story of Aulë and the dwarves a little confusing in a philosophical point of view.
Go on.
Wow. Because it's not really clear where is the source of dwarven life after all. It's Aulë. Is it Aulë? Is it Ilúvatar? Is it 50-50? What's I mean, a dwarf is, how do you say that? Who do dwarves owe their lives?
Who gave them their lives?
It's not owe. Is that the verb?
Who do they owe their life to? I think both, right? Because well, now that you mention it, and I have it here. Yeah, it's very interesting that Ilúvatar tells Aulë, no, you cannot make anything. I mean, are you sure you want this? Because they are not going to be creatures on their own. They're just gonna be alive when you are alive. But behold, I made them alive. So he in the end he says, okay, I'll give them life. And I also like the fact that Aulë says, well, you fix them, right? You fix this thing that I've been trying to do. And Iluvatar says, no, you've done them. They are as they are, and so they are. So be it. I don't know what the rest think.
Can I add to that a little bit?
Yeah, a lot of it.
Yeah, so the way I understand it is Aulë makes the dwarves, but they are only animated when he's paying attention to them. So they only do what they're like puppets, right? They only act as when Aulë is intentionally directing them to act. He can't make them alive in the sense of the other children of Iluvatar on his own power. So that's when Iluvatar steps in and using the secret fire, basically makes the dwarves equivalent to the other children of Iluvatar, right? So he gives them self-will, self-direction, and that's so they're no longer puppets.
Sorry, my connection was awful, but I came back.
Okay, but Robert, the other day you made a comment on the dwarves and their late appearance or something like that.
Yeah, you're talking about in the Iowa City forum. Yeah, I think what you're referring to is, so Tolkien explicitly associates the dwarves with Jewish people. Mm-hmm. They're kind of like, in a sense, they're analogs for Jews in Middle Earth. And so I've been thinking for actually several years about what that means and trying to see where those connections are. And without going on for too long, because it'd probably bore you to death, but basically there's this kind of idea in Jewish mysticism, like in Kabbalah, a form of Jewish mysticism, that one of the functions of Jews in the world is to repair the harms of the world. And this is a process called Tikkun Olam, which I'll throw in the chat box. And Tikkun Olam literally means repair of the world. And so when Tolkien uses this phrase that the dwarves, they become a children of adoption to Iluvatar, and they'll have a special role in the healing of Arda, or in the remaking of Arda. That phrase is very close to what Tikkun Olam means. So I think it's one of the ways in which he's connecting his dwarves with primary world analogs in kind of a certain aspect of Jewish religious culture. And so this is the specific comment I was making is that I think when Gimli is in the glittering caves and he's explaining to Legolas how the dwarves would take care of the glittering caves, because Legolas thinks, the dwarves will just mine it for gold and destroy them. And Gimli says, no, we would love this space. We would take, it's this long description, right, in Lord of the Rings about how dwarves will take care of the glittering caves. I think that might be seen as a kind of foreshadowing of the role in the healing of Arda that Iluvatar is assigning to the dwarves, because there's a statement here in the Silmarillion, I don't have it marked, but basically somewhere near the end of the description of the dwarves' creation, the storyteller says that the dwarves will have a special role in helping Aulë to remake Arda after the last battle. And so my speculation is that what Gimli is talking about and how the dwarves would take care of the glittering caves is really a kind of foreshadowing of the role that they'll play in taking care of all of Arda after the final defeat of Melkor and Sauron. So it's almost like a vision that Gimli's having of the role of the kind of role that dwarves will play in the future. I don't know if I explained that clearly. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. And it's here. Then their part shall be to serve Aulë and to aid him in the remaking of Arda after the last battle. they say also that the seven fathers of the dwarves did return to life again on their own kin and to bear. Well, yeah, that's they are coming back, and that's also something special about them. Like they come back, but that doesn't happen with others, does it?
The way I understand it is the seven fathers return, especially Durin. I think the rest of the dwarves are considered to be mortals, like men. So they kind of have an aspect of elven reincarnation and human mortality, depending on kind of which dwarf you're talking about.
There's also elven reincarnation?
Yeah, I think, again, I don't have it marked, but the elves are bound to Arda. So when they're killed, they go to the halls of Mandos, and their spirits are healed while they're in the halls of Mandos, and then they're sent back into the world. And this is one of the problems with Fëanor's mother, Muriel, I'm getting ahead, right? But she refuses to come back. She just wants to stay in the halls of Mandos, and the Valar don't quite know what to do with that because it's not what the elves are supposed to do. But yeah, so there is a kind of concept of elven reincarnation.
And do you have a question, Robert? Sorry, do you have an answer, Robert, to this question Willie made, that were dwarves really alive when Aule created them? Because they were puppets?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it kind of depends on what you mean by alive. They're animated, right? But they're kind of like robots, or if we want to use Jewish kind of mysticism as a basis for the analogy, they're like golems, right? They're like these clay beings that can kind of carry out their maker's wishes, but they don't have any independent consciousness. So I think we could say they're alive, but they're not self-directed. They're biologically alive, but they don't have any will. They don't have any soul. They don't have any personality or consciousness until Iluvatar grants them the secret fire. That's how I understand it.
Yeah, I kind of agree, but in simpler terms. Okay. Anyone else? Erix, Willie, do you have a
quote?
A quote?
Or, yes, a little one, a short one. Blah, blah, blah. In some part, Eru spoke to Manwë. Do then any of the Valar suppose that I did not hear all the song, even the less sound or the less voice? I like that part because it's like a father scolding his children. And in the Aulë Silmarillion, there are some parts that the Valar act like children. When I read the Silmarillion, there are some parts that make me think, why do you that? Why are you so naive?
The Valar, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. They are like
for
children.
me, they act like children.
Yeah, and earlier I was saying that I like the part that when they're eager to see the firstborn and they are surprised by what they do and how they can do things on their own, and like a child. Yeah, that was nice. Is this from what chapter is this?
Of Aulë and Yavanna.
Of Aulë and Yavanna.
Yes.
Ah,
Yavanna go to Manwë.
Yes. And so the dwarves are taking the attention, and Yavanna, nobody talks about Yavanna. Okay. Anything else, Willie?
No from this chapter.
Erix? No? No. Okay, me neither. Well, in this chapter, it's interesting that you also have. Well, I'm going to read the last part about Yavanna and the three shepherds, huh? The shepherds of the trees. I like the part of the eagles and that part, so I'm going to read that part.
The ends.
The ends. Yeah. Only the last part. Then Yavanna was glad, and she stood up, reaching her arms towards the heavens, and she said, "I shall climb the trees of Kementari, and the eagles of the king may house therein." But Mangue rose also, and it seemed that he stood to such a height that his voice came down to Yavanna as from the paths of the winds. "Nay," he said, "only the trees of Aulë will be tall enough. In the mountains the eagles shall house, and hear the voices of those who call upon us. But in the forest shall walk the shepherds of the trees." That's it. So I suppose eagles live in the mountains. But I really don't know. I guess so. So you didn't like this chapter? No?
I like.
You liked it? Okay. It was very short. It's nice. I found my quote from before, but it's from the previous chapter. But anyways, I'm gonna read it. Yeah, we could read it all. But Robert, you love it because your life is devoted to dwarves, isn't it? Kinda.
Well, maybe not my whole life, but yeah, I like the dwarves. I've been thinking through their culture and religion and history and all quite a bit. So yeah, I think they're frequently overlooked in favor of elves and other groups, and I think they have a lot to offer. There's a lot that's worth paying attention to in how they're described and the things that they do. So yes.
You want to read the whole chapter?
I can do that, but I don't know if the group would really want me to do that.
I'm sure they would all agree, but you said you had a quote. You already read it, or am I?
Well, I mean, it's the first. It's just on the creation of the dwarves, but I think we've already talked about that, so I don't want to take time if it's just repetitive. But I can do it if you want.
Of course.
Okay, so it is told that in their beginning, the dwarves were made by Aulë in the darkness of Middle Earth. For so greatly did Aulë desire the coming of the children to have learners to whom he could teach his lore and his crafts, that he was unwilling to await the fulfillment of the designs of Ilúvatar. And Aulë made the dwarves even as they still are, because the forms of the children who were to come were unclear to his mind, and because the power of Melkor was yet over the earth, and he wished therefore that they should be strong and unyielding. But fearing that the other Valar might blame his work, he wrought in secret, and he made first the 7 fathers of the dwarves in a hall under the mountains in Middle Earth. Now Ilúvatar knew what was done, and in the very hour that Aulë's work was complete, and he was pleased and began to instruct the dwarves in the speech that he had devised for them. Ilúvatar spoke to him, and Aulë heard his voice and was silent. And the voice of Ilúvatar said to him, "Why hast thou done this? Why dost thou attempt a thing which thou knowest is beyond thy power and thy authority? For thou hast from me as a gift thy own being only, and no more. And therefore the creature of thy hand and mind can live only by that being, moving when thou thinkest to move them. And if thy thought be elsewhere, standing idle, is that thy desire? And let me just interrupt this quickly. So for English speakers, when we see this thou and thy, it sounds like almost medieval. And it's not, yeah, it's obviously not the way that we normally speak English in contemporary English. It sounds scriptural. And, but I think sometimes what English speakers forget is that thou and thy and those pronouns are actually the familiar pronouns. So they're equivalent to in Spanish like tú and vosotros and things like that, rather than usted. And so when Iluvatar is speaking to Aulë here, it's very intimately. It's like they're in close relations to each other. They really love each other. It's not a kind of formal distance that Iluvatar is signaling through the use of that language. Anyway, to continue. Then Aulë answered, I did not desire such lordship. I desired things other than I am, to love and to teach them, so that they too might perceive the beauty of Ea, which thou hast caused to be. For it seemed to me that there is great room in Arda for many things that might rejoice in it. Yet it is for the most part empty still and dumb. And in my impatience I have fallen into folly. Yet the making of things is in my heart from my own making by thee. And the child of little understanding that makes a play of the deeds of his father may do so without thought of mockery, but because he is the son of his father. But what shall I do now so that thou be not angry with me forever? As a child to his father, I offer to thee these things, the work of the hands which thou hast made. Do with them what thou wilt, but should I not rather destroy the work of my presumption? Then Aulë took up a great hammer to smite the dwarves, and he wept. But Iluvatar had compassion upon Aulë and his desire. Because of his humility, and the dwarves shrank from the hammer and were afraid, and they bowed down their heads and begged for mercy. And the voice of Iluvatar said to Aulë, Thy offer I accepted even as it was made. Dost thou not see that these things have now a life of their own, and speak with their own voices? Else they would not have flinched from thy blow, nor from any command of thy will. Then Aulë cast down his hammer and was glad. And he gave thanks to Iluvatar, saying, May Eru bless my work and amend it. But Iluvatar spoke again and said, Even as I gave being to the thoughts of the Ainur at the beginning of the world, so now I have taken up thy desire and given to it a place therein. But in no other way will I amend thy handiwork. And as thou hast made it, so shall it be. But I will not suffer this, that thee should come before the firstborn of my design, nor that thy impatience should be rewarded. They shall sleep now in the darkness under stone, and shall not come forth until the firstborn have awakened upon earth. And until that time, thou and they shall wait, though long it seem. But when the time comes, I will awaken them, and they shall be to thee as children. And often strife shall arise between thine and mine, the children of my adoption and the children of my choice. And I'd just like to briefly add one other comment. I've seen in a lot of different, like there's a pretty common interpretation, I think, in Tolkien kind of fandom or fan groups, that Iluvatar is adopting these dwarves as a kind of concession to Aulë, but that Iluvatar still prefers in many ways the elves and the humans who were his, the children of his design. And I read it quite differently because I think, Aulë adopts the dwarves. He makes it quite clear that they are the children of his adoption. And that means he's choosing to love them, right? That they are actually being chosen to receive Iluvatar's love. And that's not, I don't interpret that then as being an indication that they are less than elves or men. Iluvatar is accepting them as the other children of Iluvatar are accepted. There's a kind of equality there, I think, from Iluvatar's perspective about the role of the dwarves. So it's in his plan that the elves will awaken first, so he has to put the dwarves to sleep for a while. but that doesn't mean that he loves the dwarves less. So should I continue, or is that enough?
I would love you to continue. I think that's enough.
All right.
That was well, it was yeah, I see them in a different way now. But I only stopped you because I want to share mine from the previous chapter. So sorry about that. I should probably make you read, but I don't know. I'll read mine. So I'm going back. Enough with the dwarfs. Back to Melkor. This is what I was saying before about Melkor and hating things. And Melkor knew that all that was done. For even then, he had secret friends and spies among the Maiar whom he had converted to his cause. And far off in the darkness, he was filled with hatred, being jealous of the work of his peers, whom he desired to make subject to himself. Therefore, he gathered to himself spirits out of the halls of Ea that he had perverted to his service, and he deemed himself strong. And seeing now that his time, he drew near again to Arda and looked down upon it. And this is what I mentioned before. And the beauty of the earth in its spring filled him the more with hate. And this is what causes this connection for me, because it's the beauty of the earth and it causes, it fills him with hate. It doesn't make any sense. I don't get it. No, I do get the envy, because sometimes you see like, oh, some good things are happening to them. And in that sense, I can understand envy, but hating beauty, I don't get it. I don't know. How can you hate beauty if beauty is beautiful? Right?
Maybe he has another idea of beauty.
Beauty is universal.
I think he hates beauty because he cannot create beauty, or he doesn't create beauty. So he's jealous that other people do it. He chooses not to do, but still he's envious, and it fills him with hate that other people create this amount of beauty.
You see, that makes more sense.
I think he hates everything, beauty.
Yeah.
Also, ugly things, everything.
Yeah, that's true. He hates beauty, and he makes ugly things, and he hates them too. Jesus. Can he be happy for a minute? Maybe not. Okay, so I think we're finishing with the quotes. If you don't have any others or any comments, I have prepared a Kahoot. But for you, it's gonna be super easy, because I was thinking of someone like me who's just getting the hang of it. But for you, it's gonna be quite easy. But I don't know if you have any other comments or ideas for the next meetings. Maybe, I don't know.
I have a comment.
Yay!
I don't like Eru in the part when he says that, oh, who stole the phrase that Willie read? Don't you think I heard every single little voice in this song? No, you didn't, because if you had heard it, you would have done something about it. You did nothing. So don't come here saying, oh, yes, I heard it. No, you didn't, okay? And now you're trying to fix it. But if Yavanna wouldn't have cried to Manwe, you wouldn't have done anything. You couldn't care less about the trip. So yes, no, Edu, I don't like you there. In other parts, okay, that's fine. But there, no, I don't believe it. I don't. That's my comment.
You can see beyond what
Yes.
Edu has devised.
I'm sorry, you're all wise and everything. You created everything, but I know, I know that those words are not true. Sorry, not true.
Sorry, not sorry. Even in English, Nadia sounds light angry. What does that mean? Light angry? Like cute angry? Something like that. With her cute voice, but she's angry. I don't know. Okay. All right. Any comments for coming meetings? I don't know. Yeah. You wanna play Kahoot? Yeah. Yay. Okay. Let's see if we can do it. So, Meeting book, will you help me a little bit? I have to share my screen, right? Otherwise, you don't see the questions. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So, host a Kahoot. Okay. Here we go. You're on your mobile, but I think it works too. Let's see. Oh, it's Gildor. I'm guessing Nat is Nadia. Someone else?
Loading.
Okay. Who is Gildor?
I am.
Okay.
No idea.
Erix, are you there? Are you coming? Perla, maybe you?
Can you put the
what?
The pink?
I put www.kahoot.a.
That's a friend. What?
Okay.
Is that Robert?
Yeah, that's me. I have no idea what Kahoots is though, so I'm just waiting to see what happens.
It's just a game. Who is nephew S?
Hey.
Who? Nephew S. He's my nephew S. It's Santiago. I am Aunt G. That's why he's nephew S.
My nephew.
It's a joke we have. Okay. So Miriam Boquil is here, Willy here, Santiago is here, Erix.
Because you are La Tía Gerald?
No, Aunt G.
Okay.
Actually, I am La Tia G. That's what they call me, my nephews. So, are we waiting for Perla and Erix? Perla and Erix, are you here?
No, I am in my cell phone.
You can't enter?
No, I'm trying.
Okay, yeah, try. Erix is probably making his child sleep also. I bet. So if there are any mistakes in the questions, let me know. I hope there aren't. I don't use much Kahoot. It's Miriam Bokwile who uses it a lot. But I understand that you can also play from your phone, right? Nadia, you are from your phone, right?
Yes, it's ideal.
Yes, it depends of the kind of game you chose, because sometimes in mobile we can only see the buttons, and we cannot see the question. But it depends of how you programmed it.
I put it to see the questions, but I don't know if it's possible. I was trying to check with my husband, but he was in another computer, so then I figured that you had to look at my questions, so I don't know.
I hope if not, maybe you can just read it.
Yeah.
Friend, is it Erix?
There's Perla. Who?
Casat friend, is it Erix?
No, Casat friend is Robert.
Oh.
No, so
Gildor?
Gildor is Willy.
Oh, Erix is not there.
Yeah, Eric's not here. Okay, so we'll start. I'll also read the question just in case you cannot see the screen. How excited! Okay, start. So it's a game. You will see in the page you open, you will see the options, and here on the screen that I'm sharing, you will see the question, something like that. Let's see. First question. The name of the Kahoot is Session 1. First question. What are we reading? The options are El Silmarillion with double L, the Silmarillion with one L, or the Silmarillion with double L.
No, what did I do?
Oh my God, you guys, the Silmarillion, double L.
What did I do?
In English, we are reading in English. Okay, please change the.
I didn't even put the right Spanish title.
Okay. Let's go with the next. I think it's a true false. Oh, Gildor is winning. Perla is second. Our Casat friend is third. Let's go. Question 2. The first chapter of the Silmarillion is Ainulindalë. True or false? The first chapter of the Silmarillion is Ainulindalë. False. Very good. Ainulindalë is a separate book. Is it a book? A story. What would you call it? Or what is it?
It's a chapter without a number. Unnumbered.
A number? What?
It's an unnumbered chapter.
An unnumbered chapter. Nadia, what did you say?
I said it is true.
Everybody said it's true.
Ah, you all said it's true? No, it's false, you guys.
It's terrible.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, of course.
So the book is the Silmarillion,
Yes.
but I think your question is referring to Quenta Silmarillion, which is part of the Silmarillion. Ainulindalë is also part of the Silmarillion, but it's not part of Quenta Silmarillion.
Okay. Okay, you got me.
That's right. That's right.
All right. All right. Okay, then. I'm wrong. The Quenta Silmarillion, I will fix it. So for the Kahoot on Sunday, Miriam Bokwili. Okay. Next question. I hope it's fine. Well, so there were no changes because you were all right. I was all wrong, so it's okay. Okay. Ainulindalë means the music of the Ainur, the music of Eru, the origin of the Ainur, the origin of the music of the Ainur. Wow. Okay, yes. So that was easy, I guess. Too easy?
Yep.
All right. Next. Aha, our Casat friends come in second. But Gildor is very fast. Valaquenta means account of the valor. It doesn't include the Maiar. It is from the men's perspective. It includes the enemies. Or it is from Eru's perspective. Okay, I think it's too little time. So Valaquenta means account of the valor. But what is it about? It obviously includes the Maiar, but it's not from the men's perspective. It includes the enemies. It's not from Eru's perspective. It is.
I read it doesn't include men's perspective.
No, it is from men's perspective. It's not from the men's perspective. It's from the Quendi, the Eldar. The Eldar.
Eldar Quendi is the same thing.
From the Eldar perspective. Okay. Thanks. Ooh, Casat friends winning. Gildor goes to the bottom. True or false? Valaquenta tells the origin of dwarves. Okay, this is too easy because we talk about dwarves extensively. I didn't think we were going to talk about that much about dwarves, so I guess. Yeah, no. Valaquenta was the other thing. The origin of dwarves is later. Who said true? Okay. Quenta Silmarillion means the elves and the Silmarils, the history of the Silmarils, the Quendi and the Silmarils. It doesn't mean anything. It means the history of the Silmarillion. Cuenta something like that. You know more than me. Okay, next. Oh, Miriam Bokwili is coming closer. True or false? Eru is the only character that has only one name. Character, yes, it's Eru. It's not true, it's false. Eru is also Ilúvatar. And the one. And
I got distracted because I'm in another Zoom. Sorry, I gotta leave because the one Matt has invited me to a Zoom about something that is related to the Perumut. So I gotta go. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay, Cassette friend, nobody's moving you, but Gildor is near you. 8. Eru, again, is not. I already answered this. Ilúvatar, the one, the Ainur, the maker. So I was actually asking a question. What are other names that Eru has? Eru is the maker of everything. So I explicitly, took the word from the book, so I don't want to invent anything. But of course, it's not the Ainur. He created them. Question 9. True or false? Mangue is with Varda. We didn't talk about Mangue and Varda. I thought we were going to talk about them more. We didn't talk about Varda. I'm liking her also more. So Mangue is with Varda. Mangue is like the sky and Varda the stars, right? Something like that. You can also unmute and talk to me so I don't feel lonely. Thank you. Next. Oh no. Cassette friend Gilder is winning. Thank you, Santiago, for the reaction. Thanks. Question 10. Ulmo is alone with Uinen, with Yavanna, and Maya. What say you? Ulmo is alone. Aulë is with Yavanna, and Ulmo is a Vala, is not a Maya. Ose is a Maya. Mm. 11. Only 16 questions. The spouse of Aulë is, I already answered this, Varda, Yavanna, Nienna. Spoiler. You see, that's because you don't talk to me. I have to talk and I spoil. Perfect. Also, the chapter is of Aulë and Yavanna, right? So, yeah. Okay. Come on, Robert. I want you to win. True or false? The Feanturi are Mandos and Lorien. We also didn't talk about the Feanturi. I thought that it was an interesting thing to talk about. Maybe someday. Yes, they are. And also Mandos and Lorien are the dwellings, right? But they are actually Irmo and I don't remember the other.
Namo, Irmo and Namo.
Namo and Irmo.
Namo and Irmo.
Okay, I hope that wasn't a spoiler, but let's see. 13. Orome's horse is Aldaron, Nahar, Tauron, Valaroma. I don't know if I'm pronouncing correctly, but we didn't talk about Oromes and his horse either. I love the description of the horse. You guys, it's Nahar. Aldaron and Tauron are other names of Orome, and Valaroma is the horn. or something like that. Gildor and Castle Friend got them all right. 14. It was a Vala. It was a Vala. Gorthaur, Sauron, Melkor, Ose. I love that everything has 1,000 names in Middle-earth. Gorthaur is actually another name of Sauron. I had no idea, absolutely. So, Melkor. I put was because he's not anymore, but he was. Oh, my nephew is coming closer. 15. Tulkas espoused Nessa. True or false? If I'm not mistaken, it's true. And it was because he espoused her and they were happy that Melkor came to do this. What? Oh no, really? No, don't tell me that. You got one wrong? I don't believe it. But there's one more question. And it's the last one. And we'll finish with that. Agnat is third. Let's see. The question is, Melkor created Balrogs, Utumno, de Valaraukar, Valinor. He didn't create things like the Balrogs. He didn't create, but he turned them to him, right? So Tumno is the fortress, and definitely he didn't create Valinor. And the Valaraukar, I think, is the same name of Balrogs, if I'm not mistaken. Is the Balrogs?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so how was it? Nat is third. Thank you for coming. Gildor is second because he got... oh, you got 2 wrong. And our Casad friend is the first one. Thank you, Nephew S and Perla, for being with us tonight.
Thanks.
Thank you. Let's take a picture because I always forget the picture. If you start your video to take a picture, I would really appreciate it. Please, friends. Thank you, Robert. Friends. Nephew.
Speak friend and turn on your mic.
Melin. No, come on. Yay! Perla, Santiago, will you show your faces? Hey, Perla.
I'm here.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Yay! Okay, give us some light, Gildor. I'm gonna take a picture. Say, Valaquenta. We don't have books. We also need the books. Do you have your books with you? What edition is that?
Now he shows his camera. Yes.
Yeah. That's better, Willy. Okay, I'm taking a picture. But Robert, your face.
My camera won't do my face and my book at the same time.
Okay, I'll take that. Thank you.